The overall discussion I want to have here is, what is everyone's temperature on Germaine Pratt requesting a trade? I'm not shocked by this. I'm not going to lie and say I expected it to happen. I did expect something to happen with Germaine Pratt, but I didn't expect him to say, hey, I want to trade. This feels like the employee that you know you're about to get rid of saying, hey, you can't fire me. I want to trade. You just want to switch to a different store. That's what this feels like to me. I don't know what the market out there looks like for him. I don't know if there is a market. One thing that's for sure, the Bengals can't overvalue their own players. And one thing I will say is, when we saw the Bengals about to move off of Joe Mixon, remember they were going to cut him. And a team like the Texans came swooping in saying, hey, we'll take him. And they traded him, So I think approaching it with the same type of mentality here, trying to get something in return. You talk about the money the money aspect of what they could get. There's a lot of players on the Bengals that they can, if they decide to move off of said players this offseason, they can really free up a lot of money, get themselves some more room to work with. For him, I do know teams like the New England Patriots were interested in him coming out of the draft. They were interested in doing free agency. We'll see. Obviously, there's the link to Lou Anarumo. Does Lou Anarumo think that maybe, hey, it makes sense to bring a familiar face to Indy that I know, one of the real catalysts for our defense?
That's Germaine, right? That's Germaine. He's a guy that wants to be out there every snap. He is, I think, a guy that is as competitive as they come, but also is, he got a little bit of a bad rap on the end of the Kansas City game, but he came back the next day and stood in front of everybody and said, hey, I wasn't a good team. That to me, that's who and what we're all about. I had a moment, but let me let everybody know that that's not who I am.
I do find it funny, though, when you hear people in national media talk. And I see a lot of Bengals fans get worked up when they see this and they say, hey, why are they talking about Germaine Pratt as if he was some leader in Cincinnati? To be clear with you, Germaine Pratt was a leader in that locker room. He was viewed as a leader in that locker room. He was a vocalized leader in that locker room. I'm going to tell you where it took a turn a little bit. It took a turn when there was a game, might have been pretty big, against the Kansas City Chiefs in the playoffs, and Germaine Pratt was a little bit more passionate than maybe, some are even used to here in Cincinnati, especially towards the young player in Joseph Ossai. And some people thought he was maybe bullying or scolding Joseph Ossai to a degree, a little bit too harshly.
This motherfucker last year. The fuck? Why the fuck did you cut the quarterback?
Seeing the way national media really pounced on him and hurt and went after him a little bit, and seeing how the fan base sort of went after him to a degree, it made him sort of not be as vocal. This is not hearsay. This is things that I was told. And it makes sense, right? It seemed like he always had a chip on his shoulder since then, and it wasn't still the same old Germaine Pratt that we were essentially used to. But that all being said, he was a leader here in Cincinnati. So when you hear people like Ian Rappaport, Tom Pelissero, or Mike Garafolo talk about what Cincinnati could be losing from a leadership standpoint in Germaine Pratt, they are 100% accurate. For the Bengals, there have been a lot of times where they've held on to guys too long. And if it takes a guy who was clearly on his way out requesting a trade for the Bengals to feel like they need to make a change, I'm for it, to be quite honest with you. I'm absolutely for it. For me, I look at it and I say, Germaine Pratt had a good career in Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah.
He's had a lot of great moments. For being in that stadium, watching the Bengals take down the Raiders and ending the playoff drought on a playoff P interception, amazing to watch. Seeing the strip of Travis Kelce in a big moment, awesome to watch. There were a lot of great moments. Him and Logan Wilson were a good tandem. One could even say he may have played above expectations, right? Because remember, there was a point in time where we all thought he was out of here.
Mm-hmm.
He thought he was out of here. The linebacker market didn't shape out the way he wanted to. Found himself back in Cincinnati. It was clear, though, the reason he wanted out of Cincinnati is because he believed that he was an every down linebacker. He believed that he had so much more to offer an NFL team than what he was given as far as the opportunity goes. I honestly believe, that decision to re-sign Germaine Pratt may have stymied the growth and the opportunities of a guy like Akeem Davis-Gaither, to be quite honest with you. But that's a story for a different day.